The name Sophia is one of the most popular baby names on the planet right now, but here's the thing. It was never actually meant to be a name at all. It's just a word, a Greek word, and what it means changes everything about how we see the people, the churches, and the entire philosophical tradition that carried it forward. To understand Sophia, you have to go back to ancient Greece, roughly the 5th and 4th centuries BCE. This is the world that gave us democracy, tragedy, and the very concept of organized philosophical thought. Greek was not just a language for conversation, it was a precision instrument. The Greeks built abstract nouns the way architects build columns, with deliberate structure and specific load-bearing purpose. They did not name things casually. When they coined a word, that word carried a whole framework of meaning inside it. The word sophos meant wise. Not wise in a vague, inspirational poster kind of way. Wise in the sense of skilled, experienced, practically capable. A sophos person understood how the world actually worked. From that root came Sophia, the abstract noun. Skill, knowledge, sound judgment, practical wisdom. Philosophy itself, which literally means love of Sophia, is built directly on this word. So how does an abstract philosophical concept become a woman's name on a birth certificate in Ohio in 2024? That journey takes about 1,500 years and goes through some of the most dramatic moments in world history. The word Sophia appears in pre-Socratic philosophical text, but it reaches its fullest early development in the works of Plato, writing in Athens in the 4th century BCE. For Plato, Sophia was not just wisdom in general. It was one of the 4 cardinal virtues, alongside courage, justice, and temperance, that defined the ideal soul and the ideal city. His Republic, written around 380 BCE, places Sophia at the very top of the virtues, the quality that allows reason to govern the whole person. But Sophia did not stay confined to philosophical treatises. Early Jewish texts, written in Greek, began personifying wisdom as a feminine figure. The book of Proverbs, in its Greek translation known as the Septuagint, describes wisdom as a woman calling out in the streets, offering guidance to those who will listen. This was Sophia. Not a metaphor exactly, but not a person either. Something in between. A divine quality given a voice and a face. Then came Christianity, and with it, one of the most spectacular architectural and symbolic acts in history. In 537 CE, the Emperor Justinian I dedicated the greatest church in the Byzantine world in Constantinople. Its name was Hagia Sophia. And here is where the confusion begins that would last for over 1,000 years. Most people who hear Hagia Sophia assume it was named after a saint named Sophia. There was, in fact, a minor saint of that name in early Christian tradition, a widow who reportedly lost 3 daughters to martyrdom in Rome around the 2nd century CE. Her name was recorded. Her feast day exists. But the church in Constantinople was not named for her. Hagia Sophia means holy wisdom. It is a dedication to a quality, to a theological concept, to the divine wisdom of God. The Greek phrase Hagia Sophia is simply the Greek way of saying what English calls divine wisdom. This distinction mattered so much that etymologists and historians of the church have been careful to note it directly. Ancient church names and place names across the Eastern Christian world that reference Sophia are not necessarily references to a person at all. The English translation of the Greek phrase is simply divine wisdom. The building was a monument to an idea, not to an individual. The earliest recorded use of Sophia as an actual given name for an individual in English records dates to the 1610s. By this point, the name had traveled from Greek through late Latin, filtered through centuries of theological writing, and landed in European naming traditions largely because people admired the concept enough to want their daughters associated with it. The Protestant and Catholic traditions both embraced it. European royal houses began using it. Sophia of Hanover, born in 1630, sadly, became one of the most historically significant bearers of the name. She was the mother of King George I of Britain, and her line established the Protestant succession that still technically underlies the British monarchy today. The misconception worth addressing here is not that Sophia is a fake name or that no one should use it. The misconception is about what the name is actually honoring. When parents today choose the name Sophia, the assumption is almost always that it is simply a traditional European female name with Greek roots, the same category as Maria or Elena or Catherine. And that is true in a limited sense. But the lineage is stranger and more interesting than that. The name began as a theological term. It was the word used to describe one of the divine attributes of God. It was inscribed above the door of the greatest church in the medieval world, not because a woman named Sophia was important, but because wisdom itself was considered sacred. The saint named Sophia exists, and there are feast days and martyrologies and small churches dedicated to her, but she is almost certainly named after the concept, not the other way around. The concept came first. The theology came first. The name followed as people recognized that honoring an idea by naming a child after it was a way of carrying that idea forward into daily life. Sophia has been the number 1 or number 2 most popular girl's name in the United States for most of the 2010s and into the 2020s. It shows up in its variant spellings, Sophia, Sophie, Zofia, across dozens of languages and cultures simultaneously. In religious contexts, the concept of Sophia never went away. Eastern Orthodox theology maintains a rich tradition of sophiology, the study of divine wisdom as a theological principle. Russian philosophers in the 19th and early 20th centuries, including Vladimir Solovyov, built entire systems of Christian philosophy around the concept of divine wisdom as a feminine aspect of God. The word was never just a name to them, it was a living theological argument. And in philosophy itself, the word is embedded in the very discipline's name. Every time someone says philosophy, they're saying, in compressed Greek, the love of wisdom. Sophia is right there in the middle of it, unchanged for 2,500 years. The family of words connected to Sophia reaches further than most people realize. The sophists were the traveling teachers of ancient Greece who charged fees for lessons in rhetoric and argumentation. Plato famously disapproved of them, which is part of why sophist and sophistry now carry negative connotations in English, implying clever but misleading argument. The root is the same. Sophia became sophist became sophistry, the skill of wisdom twisted into the performance of wisdom. Sophomore contains Sophia as well. It comes from the Greek combination of sophos for wise and moros for foolish, a second-year student being in the classical joke, just wise enough to know nothing. The word sophisticated traces the same path. Originally meaning adulterated or corrupted in the way a sophist might corrupt a good argument, it has traveled all the way to meaning refined and worldly. There's also a Gnostic tradition, most visible in early Christian sects of the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE, that treated Sophia as a cosmic figure, a divine being who played a role in the creation of the material world. In these texts, found among the Nag Hammadi library in Egypt in 1945, Sophia is neither a person nor simply a virtue. She is an active force in the universe, capable of error and redemption. These ideas were declared heretical by mainstream Christianity, but they survived in manuscript form for nearly 2,000 years. What makes Sophia remarkable as a word is that it managed to be all of these things at once: a philosophical term, a theological concept, a cosmic figure, a saint's name, a royal name, and eventually a name that parents around the world choose for their daughters without necessarily thinking about any of it. The word absorbed history the way the E.